All right, let's bring in host of the Total Financial Hour on AM 870 The Answer, Republican strategist Arif Halaby. He is joined by John Thomas, managing director at Nestpoint and a Republican strategist. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. Thank you for coming on today. All right. Well, RealClearPolitics has Abigail Spanberger ahead of Winsome Earle-Sears by more than 10 points. Arif, does this surprise you? I mean, given that Earle-Sears was elected in 2021 alongside Governor Glenn Youngkin, who upset Terry McAuliffe back then and became the first Republican governor in Virginia since, I think it was 2009. Do you think this is potentially a reflection of Youngkin? Okay, Arif, we were having some issues with your audio, so we're going to go to John with that question. Arif, what do you think is happening here in this race? Yeah,
I can take that question, Tracy. Well, first of all, Youngkin was almost once in generational candidate for Virginia, number one. Number two, Virginia is it's a blue state. It typically leans blue. Youngkin was the exception to the rule. And I would also say that the Republican in the race, actually, she was down by over 20 points just a month or so ago in the RealClearPolitics averaging and others. So she's actually significantly tightened it, and she's being dramatically outspent. So, look, we'll see how she does, but Virginia's behaving more how Virginia traditionally behaves. And so I wouldn't read too deeply into the results of tonight's election in Virginia. I think it's more important to look at areas like New York City, et cetera, that are shifting hard in one direction or another.
Yeah, Arif, I think we got your audio back, so we can go back to you with this question. There's an even tighter race, as you know, in Virginia, and that is for the state attorney general there. Republican incumbent AG Jason Miyares and embattled Democrat Jay Jones. Those two, they're actually in a dead heat. Miyares led most polls because of that scandal surrounding Jones, but Jones somehow managed to close the gap over the past week. Are you surprised, especially given those violent nature of those text messages that resurfaced on Jones's part? I mean, that's really not the way Virginia's top cop should act. What do you think is going to happen here in this race, Arif?
I think if you go back to the violence committed on the Democrat side, the difference is this. Look, Republicans have been victims of the violence from Charlie Kirk, which seems like so long ago, but it was just a couple of months back. You start to see the violent rhetoric from Jay Jones and others like him. Really, the only position that the Democrat Party seems to have is to hate Trump. Whatever he says, they say just the opposite. And this is important because Virginia is a very heavily federally employed, required. It's almost like you're required to live there and be employed by the federal government or one of the shadow government agencies or those kinds of things. So this furlough was probably meant to continue through this election so that it can push for the Democrat view. And Jay Jones isn't any different. He hates Trump. He relies on the hate of President Trump, and his positions are irrelevant. It's really a matter of understanding that this is not an election against ideas. It's an election against President Trump or for President Trump.
Yeah, let me follow up and ask you this question. Do you think that we could potentially see a split ticket here with, say, a Democrat governor and Republican AG?
Yeah, I would expect to see one of them win. I think you're going to see it's all about turnout, almost like every election. It's about turnout because you just saw the interviews leading up to our coming on here, and it was one of the young man who said, I was just told to come and vote. And the other lady just said, just because it's a Democrat. I mean, you understand how ridiculous that is from a standpoint of a democracy and a republic that is representative of ideas and differences. I want to hear the other side ideas. We see an example of the left wing running the gamut from about 17, 18 years, from the dog catcher to governor in the state of California, has all been run by the left and the far left. So there is no other ideas, and you see what's happened to the both economic positions of California and the reason that 16, 17, 1,800 people per day leave the state of California. That's per day.
Yeah, that's amazing. I want to get to some other news that we're watching as well. Singer Tish Hyman, she actually says she was kicked out of a Los Angeles, that is Gold's Gym, and had her membership canceled after complaining about a biological male in the women's bathroom. She claims that she had multiple encounters with this transgender woman in there, a biological male, and she feels that she was punished for speaking out. Rick, what's going on here? Why is she getting flack? Simply because she says, she felt violated by this biological male in the women's bathroom.
I'm not sure if he can hear
All
you.
right, John,
I can answer
go back
that
to
if you
you.
want.
Okay. All right, you can take that question first, if you will.
No worries. It happens to be in a gym that I'm very familiar with. So being from Los Angeles and being in that area, I happen to know that gym quite well. But here's two things that you can see with that, maybe three. Super unpolitically possible to explain on TV, but I'm going to do it. One of those, there's three types of people that are in the transgender community: men wanting to dress up like women to go into locker rooms. I'm not talking about those that had the complete surgery, but a man like this is literally a man. You have the mentally ill, and that's the one we should very much feel sorry for. I understand that. But you have the perverts and the cheats. We have to understand, if you want to compete in a female sport and you're a man, there's a reason we have Title VII. There's a reason we have female athletics. There's a reason that Serena Williams would never play against a man, even one that was ranked in the 100, 200, 300 category. She wouldn't. She said it's just different. And she knows. She's an expert. She's at the highest level of her field. Why is it that we still allow men dressed like women, pretending to be women, to go into locker rooms? It's ridiculous. I thought we were supposed to protect our ladies and our daughters and our wives, and I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. Okay, John, I want to go back to you. I called you Rick. I apologize. I'm going to give you this question before we run out of time. CNN's Alex Michelson just interviewed former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who had some not-so-nice things to say about President Trump. Let's listen.
Just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth. But anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do, yeah.
The worst thing on the face of the earth. Wow. There are reports that Pelosi, who is 85 years old and has been in office since 1987, that she may be retiring soon. John, your thoughts, and what do you think Pelosi's legacy will be?
I'm glad she's allegedly retiring, because that kind of extremist rhetoric is what gets people killed. We've seen that in the case of Charlie Kirk. We've seen that in multiple assassination attempts. And look, Alex Michelson, I think, is a good, fair reporter. He was asking, the right questions. But the fact that the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, feels that it is okay to use that kind of extremist rhetoric, and then we wonder why there's violence against figures on the right. I mean, it's disgusting. It should be denounced. And I'm glad she's retiring, because it really it's figures like her that have no place in our politics. She has no remorse for the fact that her incendiary rhetoric probably was what inspired extremists on the left to go after right-wing figures. And we've got to change this discourse in our politics. And look, I'm glad to see her retire, because that's one less we have to worry about.
Yeah, we're going to leave it right there. John Thomas, Arif Halaby, thank you both so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.